In this tutorial, we're going to make a composite of the last three projects, which were the bumper video, the titles, and the iPhone, and we're going to use Adobe Premiere. I'm going to start by going down to the dock at the bottom of my computer, and I'm going to click on the Premiere alias to launch the application. Once I've launched the application, I'm going to click on New Project. I'll name it. And just like in After Effects, I'm going to direct it to the folder with the video content I'm going to use. And then simply click OK. Now, like all the other Adobe applications, if there's an application frame, it can be minimized and maximized to what your needs might be. And you're going to see the immediate comparisons between After Effects and Premiere. There's an Effects Control window in the upper left, Project tab down below on the left. To the right is the sequence window where a movie will take place, and directly below is the timeline. And much the same as in After Effects, I can put my cursor over the edge of these windows and I can minimize and maximize them for whatever my needs might be. Now, just like After Effects, anything that appears in my final movie has got to be in the Project tab. So I'll go down to the Project tab, and I can double click on the window, or I can right click and choose Import. Again, the keyboard quick would have been Command I, just like After Effects. And I'll go into my folder and I'll shift select the video clips I'm going to use, and I'll click on Import. Now that I've imported the clips I'm going to use to make this composite, I can use them to define the size of my sequence and the frame rate. So I'm going to start by dragging the bumper video, and that was the first video, and it should have been 854 by 480. Now at this point, if you had gotten your bumper video proportions wrong, you may want to try one of the others to define the composition and sequence settings. I'll drag that into the timeline. And now what Premiere has done, just like After Effects, is created a sequence and a sequence window that is based upon the frame rate and the aspect ratio of the video clip. Now I want these to be one consecutively after the other. I'm going to go down to my timeline. I'm going to make sure that V1 and A1 both are selected blue. And then I'm going to go and drag the next sequence in, which would be my iPhone. I'll click and drag it and drop it right next to the bumper. And by default, you'll feel it snap. In Premiere, if we would look underneath our time code here, you see a little horseshoe magnet that is blue. When any of these icons are blue, it means the functions are automatically on. That represents an automatic snap. Now I'm going to increase the size of my timeline window so I can drag my next clip in, which will be sequentially my titles, and I'll snap it to the end of my iPhone. Now Premiere is a little different than After Effects in the sense that the timeline goes on indefinitely. As long as you add clips, it continues to generate a timeline. Some of you may have had an iPhone ad that was vertical as opposed to horizontal. The answer to that is simply to go to the clip, and if you look in the left-hand corner, you're going to see either Source or Effects Control. I'm going to click on Effects Control, and when I have my clip selected, it gives me all the functions of the clip. There's a number of things I can do here, but for our purposes, all you would need really to do is to scale it down to fit this horizontal format. I'm going to click on the word motion. And when you click on the function of motion, you'll see you can scale this on screen, or the other option would be to go to the effects channel, put your left mouse over the blue number for 100% scale, and drag to the left, and you can change the size of that. Otherwise, if you've got a horizontal arrangement, you can leave it as is. Now, in addition to simply dragging these clips in and exporting them out, we want to have a 4-second introduction where you'll put your name. Just like After Effects, I'm going to go to the time sequence in the left-hand corner of the timeline. I'll click on the blue numbers, and I'll punch in 400 and hit return. Now I can take my move tool, which is V, and I can drag and marquee all 3 clips, and then if I drag to the right I can feel it snap to my playback head, which is now at 4 seconds. Now that we've moved our clips 4 seconds in time, we're going to back up to the beginning of the timeline, and we're going to put text in with our names and the CGPH 12 section 1 fall 2018. So in order to do that, I can drag the playback head just like in After Effects, or I could hit home on the keyboard just like in After Effects. Just like Photoshop, I could hit T on the keyboard. Now I'm going to introduce text into my sequence window. Now this is a little different than After Effects. There's no quick key to zoom in and out on the sequence window. So I'm going to go down to the lower left hand corner and I'm going to click where it says 25%, and I'll bump it up to 50%. I'll click inside my timeline. I'm going to hit my cap lock, and when you do so you'll see the effects control window on the left hand side has activated and now reflects all the functionality of the text tool in Premiere. I'm going to start typing in CGPH12 desktop video fall 2018, then your name. I'm going to select them, and in the effects channel I'm going to go over and I'm going to scroll down. The scroll is over here just to the left of the sequence window, and I'll justify center. At this point I want it to fit inside the screen, so in the context of Premiere it's not quite as precise as a text or Photoshop editing application. You'll see there is the name of your font, there's the different types, whether it's bold, irregular, condensed, and then there's a slider bar for size. So I'm simply going to drag that so that it fits inside the window. I'll click on my move tool actually and I'll center that a little bit more. Now that we have the text in, we're going to put 2-second separations in between each of the clips. With the up and down arrow I can move back and forward to edits inside of Premiere. So if my layer is selected with the video clips, which is V1 and A1, I can now hit the up arrow and go back to the beginning of my bumper clip, or I can hit the down arrow and go to the end. I'm going to place my playback head at the end of the bumper clip. It's approximately 31 seconds, so I'm going to click on that and I'm going to make it 33 seconds. And once I hit return on the keyboard, I can now get my move tool, marquee select the last 2 clips, and just pull them till they snap at the new location for the playback head. I'll hit the down arrow one more time to now go to the end of my iPhone, and that's 107, so I'll add 2 seconds to that, making it 9, hitting return. Clicking on my move tool, I'll grab the titles and drag that to snap at the playback head. Now that we've got our text, our 3 video clips, and the time in between them completed, we're going to go to the end of the 3rd clip, which is my titles, to find the out point and export our movie. So I can use my down arrow to navigate, or what I could have done was simply hit end on the keyboard. And like After Effects, the very end of the video doesn't show content. So there may be an instance in which you need to see the last frame. We don't really, but I could have used my left arrow to navigate back to the very last frame of our movie. I'm going to leave it blank. And inside of Premiere, I and O define the in and out point of our movie, much the same way the work area does inside of After Effects. So I'll hit O on the keyboard and you'll see now that the timeline from beginning to end now has got a pale gray above the clips. So that means we're ready to export this piece of the timeline. I'm going to use the keyboard quick, and I'm going to make sure that the timeline itself is selected, because if I don't and I hit Command M, I'm not going to get the media encoder. And this is the same media encoder that you really see when we export from After Effects. I'm going to go up and where it says output name, I'll click on the blue letters there. At this point you would put your name on that for me, direct it to your desktop, and if the frame rate is registered 30 frames per second, I'm going to click on that and you can drop that down to 15. Once I've changed my frame rate to 15, I'll click on export.